OGaccountability.com. All right, we're back for the second part of talking about fear. And just before we ended, you made a comment about jealousy, and we were saying that jealousy is like you said, an unrealized fear. Jealousy is something within that sometimes people take jealousy as being possessive, and it can. There are forms of possessive jealousy, but a lot of times it's the fear of if I don't intervene, I'm going to lose you. And if you have to operate in that, it's probably not a good relationship to begin with, but it really is a form of fear.
Well, jealousy is even more than just, like, oh, are they cheating on me? Uh, Women can tell you all sorts of stuff about jealousy, about she has this better thing than me, and so it's more than just that. But yeah, I think it's all fear based. Like even with that, like, oh my gosh, they have, I'm so jealous of them. They have a bigger house than me, or they, went on this vacation, or she's got a great bag, or something like that. It's all like it is fear based. I guess it would take some dismantling, like some thought to like see what the root of it all is. But it's fear, yeah, for sure.
I'm very, very thankful the way I was raised. Thoughts like that, and those thoughts are prevalent in men and women, but I don't. That's just an aspect of my life I don't think about. Like, oh, they have a bigger this, they have a better. I For some reason that just has never been in my thought process of keeping up with the Joneses.
It is. I mean, I don't think like that anymore. I haven't for a long time, but I did when I was younger.
Yeah.
But I think it's a symptom of youth, and it's something I grew out of. But I kind of feel sorry for people that don't ever grow out of that. That's no way to live.
Well, you're never living for yourself.
I just don't like. I'm not going to act like I've never been there. I was when I was younger. I think young people in general like go through a phase where they're just especially young men, for sure. It's not just young women, it's young men too. Just like, look at him over there, and he thinks he's this and he thinks he's that. And it's the same for girls, just over different stuff, you know?
And ladies, I will tell you, I'm fearful to say it.
Say it.
Um, yeah, yeah. Sometimes people do a lot of stuff for the fear of not. There's people who spend money they don't have because they have to have a certain persona, and they're fearful that if I'm not the big dog on the block and I'm not the biggest fish in the pond, that people won't respect me. And that's a fear that people run into as well. Um, when we begin to cope with fears, sometimes our coping mechanisms can be healthy or very unhealthy in dealing with them, and recognizing, why do I clam up in this situation? Why do I get angry in this situation? And a lot of it, in my opinion, I believe wholeheartedly, is it really is to fear. People don't ask questions for fear of looking stupid. People don't go certain places for fears of the unknown. We've talked about people don't go to the gym because, well, I don't know how the machines work, and I don't know how this, and I don't want to ask what. There's a lot of things that keep people stagnant because of fear, because of, well, I don't know. Well, go find out. And once again, you get so many different um, types of personalities that, just the way I am, if I don't understand something, I'm going to learn about it. I'm going to look up. I'm going to find a place that's teaching an online class on it. I'm going to find out. I'm going to learn about it. That's just the way I am. I want to know how to do certain things, and like my brother Brad growing up, that guy took his vehicle and everything he ever owned apart. I mean, he would have stuff in hundreds of pieces, and you'd come out and just shake your head, and then come out the next morning and it'd all be put back together. Of course, now the job he has, he gets paid very, very well to do what he does, and he works on robotics. He takes ROVs. It's just unreal. But for me, I never wanted to let the fear of not knowing keep me from knowing, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Like, no, go find out, learn about it. If it's just like a friend of mine, Macy. She's a freaking, but she dealt with a lot of health issues for a lot of years. Well, come to find out, she's allergic to a lot of things that she didn't realize the foods that she was putting in her body were making her sick and ill. So most people could say that and say, well, I can't enjoy this stuff. So instead of looking at everything she couldn't enjoy, she took about 6 months of her life and just studied everything that she can have. Well, this is what I can have, and I can do this, and I can. And her whole paradigm shift, her health shift, her digestive, everything, because she learned this is what I can put in my body.
Yeah, food allergy tests are like, as a coach, if I've got somebody that just seems to have some sort of persistent problem, like when it comes to like something that seems based on like inflammation or nausea or something like that, and they've tried everything and nothing works, go get a food allergy test. You'd be amazed.
I need to do that.
You might have celiacs or something serious that is like you just need to change your diet and you'll be a new person.
Diet, that can be another, we could get forever in diet, but yes. But people are afraid to change their eating habits.
Well, that's, I can tell you as a coach that is based largely in ignorance. And I don't mean that as you're a stupid person. Ignorance just means you don't know something.
Yeah.
There's lots of smart people. I'm one of them that for a long time was ignorant because really, at least in our society, like we're not taught about food. We're not taught about, we're not taught about health correctly, at least because they want us sick. But yeah, it's just based largely in ignorance. People think that because they don't know any different. I thought this too for a long time that, if I want to be healthy and if I want to lose weight and if I want to stay like, slender and healthy, my life's going to suck. I'm going to have to be grinding in the gym an hour a day, 6 days a week. I'm going to eat cardboard and chicken and water every day for the rest of my life. And that's not true at all. But because it's an overwhelming, like just kind of thing, people don't correct that knowledge a lot of times. So if they want to go, try to lose weight or get healthy or whatever, they'll just starve themselves or over-exercise or something like that instead of fixing their knowledge base.
And that just putting a Band-Aid. Every person I ever knew that ever went on the Atkins diet, the second they got off it, they put the weight back on plus about another 4 or 5%.
It's a quick fix that doesn't. I will say this about the Atkins: it absolutely works for sure. You have to be really strict and follow it because ketosis is like a process, and you have to get your body into ketosis. It definitely works, and if you want to do it for 2 weeks to lean down for a vacation, it works. But you will gain it back the second that you get off of it. That's not sustainable for the rest of your life by any stretch of the imagination.
I've always done intermittent fasting.
I love intermittent fasting.
Well, not on purpose. It's because I'm poor and I couldn't afford to eat. But no, I was just waiting to put that joke in there. But getting back to fear. If we could ever truly sit down with someone and really learn their true inner workings, I mean, like who you're truly dealing with, because I got news, people out there, even best friends you've had since 5th grade or since you were 5 years old and grew up together, you can be in your 40s or 50s and you still don't know 100% about that person. And there are certain aspects of life we don't need to know about each other. There's some things that need to be private, but if we truly knew their fears, because guys, we got buddies that they have some fears that are and that's the thing about fear. Fear is real to people, even though sometimes it's not tangible. And I've put this to my daughter when she started swimming. If you ever get around somebody who is truly afraid of water, I'm not talking about they just say they're scared of water because they don't want to get wet. There are people who are deathly afraid of water. And if you push them in the pool and y'all are laughing and having a good time and you jump in with them, they will drown you.
Yeah.
And not on purpose. They are so fearful they will do anything to keep their head above water. And they get into that fight mode. Fear really is real to people. And that's the thing. When you don't understand somebody's inner workings and you don't understand how they operate in their fears, and sometimes we're like, it's kind of like when you're a kid and you come to your mom and dad, there's a monster in my closet. Oh, go back to bed. Well, as a parent, you just shrug it off. But when you're a kid, there really is a monster in your closet. I mean, we knew it. And one of the ways I really subsided that fear in my daughter is I asked her, do you know anybody that the boogeyman's ever taken? Well, no. I said, okay, well, daddy's in his, at this time I was in my mid or late 30s. And I said, I don't know any person the boogeyman's ever gotten. And then I said, and grandpa and grandma don't. I said, you know why? Because the boogeyman's not real. That was a way that I could explain it to her, that after I explained it to her that way, we really don't, we really did not have any problems anymore.
Yeah, fear is one of those things that like people's perceptions are valid even if they're not real, especially like when it comes to fear. So like even if somebody is not correct about something, if they're fearful about it, that needs to be acknowledged and addressed like from where they're at,
Yeah.
for sure, especially with a kid.
And when you're talking with somebody, I think this is huge. If I'm dealing with somebody who's angered or upset, I need to know if they are operating out of fear or if they are just operating out of will, meaning things didn't go the way I want, so I'm going to be a Karen about it, or what is a Ken, you know. But if I'm dealing with somebody and I realize, well, they're operating out of fear, which means probably a couple things they're unlearned about the topic, and or I need to realize where that fear came from. I had a girlfriend who I'm who I adore, and she's gotten married, and things are going very well in her life. But sadly, she lost a child at a very young age, and so whenever she had years later another child, that fear, and she would literally check on her son all night, about every 15 or 20 minutes. I mean, bought apparatuses that go to monitor his heart rate, that go to her phone so she can see. And somebody can be like, that's overkill. She woke up on Christmas morning and her son had passed away at a very young age. That is not a, it is a fear. That is a reality. And
that's a trauma response.
that's a trauma response. So when you get into what you're dealing with, and that's what I'm saying, sometimes we have to be careful the words we use with people because we don't know what we're dealing with. Is this just something I'm scared of it because I don't know what the outcome's going to be? Or I'm scared of this because there is a trauma scar in my life and I've been in that situation. And so as time went on, she's done very, very well, and moved on. But that fear was a complete reality in her life, and she's very vindicated and justified in every movement that she took from that point until because I think that is something you can't heal in somebody. That is something you have to be there as a support and an emotional buffer. But that's something you can't. That's like I have friends that lost their spouses, and people are like, "Well, just get over it." That's not how things work.
Well, you can heal, but you have to heal yourself.
You
It's the
have to
same
heal
with
yourself.
addiction. It's the same, same with anything else. No, you can get like fear is sticky. Like if you associate it with a certain thing in life, it's sticky, and you can unstick it through conscious effort, and through creating new neural pathways in your brain and choosing different responses, like for sure. But like if if every time that you've tried to do something it's turned out horrifically, you get conditioned. It's a normal just part of your brain to condition certain emotions with certain things. Like that's a survival mechanism that we have built into us. So you can recondition yourself if you know that you have been patterned in a way that was like a trauma response. You know what I'm saying? Like a child should be a happy thing. And if you know enough to know that I have this unhealthy, emotion that's attached to this thing, I can undo that. Like I can, there's cognitive behavioral things that you can do to like unwind that, but you have to be the one to do it. Nobody can do that for you. Same with, if you've, I don't know, if every time you've been married, you've had something awful happen to you, you're going to have trauma responses because the patterning in your brain is this thing equals this awful emotion.
Yeah.
Or this awful, you can, step back from that and become conscious enough to realize that no, this is not, you can depattern that. but it takes effort and it takes intention.
And fear does come a lot of times in patterns, seeing a pattern. And so it creates that trauma response, which is a fear response.
But you can see that in yourself. Like if you like, okay, I'm trying to think. That was actually, now that I'm thinking about my own situation, that was something that I had to do, years ago when I was learning to correct a lot of the bad habits I picked up as a kid who had been through all sorts of stuff and just had all these bad patterns from things that weren't my fault, but it's a long story. But I just had to learn, and I did over a long period of time and doing things repeatedly to like, okay, this thing, connecting with others, for example, making friends. That was hard for me for a long time because I just avoided people, because for a long time growing up, my connection to trying to get to know someone new was rejection and ridicule and like all of these things. So I learned to associate those feelings with trying to connect with other people. That's awful.
Yeah.
And that's not healthy. It doesn't matter what happened to me to cause that. Those things are real. They really did happen, but you cannot base your idea about connection with other people around those instances. You have to repattern that. It's the same with relationships. Like if you've been unfortunate enough to have awful things happen to you in the past, that's awful. And those are real for sure. It's not that they're not, but you have to get to a place where you realize that this is something I want in my life. And those, I know enough now to be, to not let those things happen again, to choose better in the future. And I'm going to decouple that knee-jerk response in my soul from, because this is something I want a healthy attachment to. I don't want this trauma bond with it anymore.
And if somebody's listening, one of the changes that I've really liked in society over the past decade is we have normalized people getting help for their mental anguishes, mental illnesses. I use that term actually very loosely because
We've destigmatized it.
But if we're not careful, we associate everything with mental illness. So I want to be careful how I say that. But if you're listening and you're going, there are so many. There's when Danny Carpenter was here, pastor of Grace is the Place there in Tomball, he said something so well that he loves about the internet. It doesn't matter anytime, day or night. You can go on the internet and you can get on a chat if you're battling depression, if you're fighting, and that's another thing. Depression is something we all go through. We just address it differently. Right. But you can find somebody to talk to. There are self-help books out there. If you're not a reader, there's help groups. You can go sit with people and that are of like mind, that have the same situations and scenarios you've been through. But we're in a position now that help is so readily available. You almost want to say there's no excuse for not getting help. If you haven't, it's on you. It's on you. And one of the best things is having people in your life that can recognize things about your character that you can't. That people can say, hey, do you realize, maybe in certain situations, you ever notice that you do this? And I'm like, no, I didn't. But now that you say that, I do. And now that I know,
Well, you're sure gracious, because most people will just get explosively defensive if you say something like that to them. So I've learned the hard way that most people are not open to feedback that way. They don't want to look at themselves. They don't have self-awareness. They don't have an inner dialogue. Like they're not, I don't know if it's most people, maybe that's not fair, but it's a lot.
Well, I don't think I was always like that, Liz. I think that about 4 years ago, maybe 4, I don't know. I've slept. But I had somebody that I really trust really tell me some things about my character that maybe I didn't see. And it wasn't all bad. I mean, there was some good stuff in there. But the areas that they pinpointed that I realized, holy crap, they are 100% accurate here. My first reaction was to become defensive. But when I realized that the people that I surround myself with, I don't hang around goofballs. I don't hang around people that don't have things going well in their life. And what I mean by that is the people that I hang with are people that have, first and foremost, have compassion for other people, that are kind, that are driven, that aren't the black sheep of society. And that kind of sounds a little judgmental, but all I mean by that is these are people that are purposeful. And if you're hanging around somebody who's not purposeful, boy, it's real easy to just slip into mediocrity.
I think that's actually one of the, well, it's good that you surround yourself with people like that, because I 100% believe that that's one of the most important maxims in life to always keep front of mind, is you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. That is totally true.
And what I
You better
love,
make sure that you spend good, your time around good people, because you will become like whoever it is that you spend your time with.
and what I love about some of the guys that I hang with, and I don't have a lot of people I hang with. The older I have gotten, I mean, I went through several years where I hung out with nobody, but the guys that I hang with, they are such great guys that we can sit and not have any conversation, but we can also be golfing, and I can make a comment, and John, a friend he'd be like, "No, Dave, that's stupid, man. Nope, don't think that way. I wouldn't do that."
Those are good friends.
And those,
to have.
and that's it. You've got to have people in your life that will shoot you straight.
Yeah, for sure.
And I may have to lie to you every now and then if you are a over thinker, and it may have to say, "Oh no, hey, everything's going to be fine," just to get you out of your own head for the moment. And because when you're dealing with people that are in the midst of a fear or a panic attack, reasoning is not going to work. You've got to get them out of that situation, out of their mind, because anything you throw at them is engulfed by their fear. And I just recently talking with a friend, and I guess I don't know their age. I know they're in their probably mid to late 30s. They're scared of everything.
That's sad.
Like, hey, go do this. Well, I can't do that. I can't go by myself here. And I'm like, well, yeah, you can. And people do it all the time. Well, hey, take y'all's family, go do that. Oh, we can't do that. And it's everything you say, they're scared. And it's like, you can't live life just every now and then. Be scared of the grizzly bear. Be scared of the shark. Don't be scared of new experiences.
Yeah, but again, going back to what I was saying earlier, that is, since the dawn of time, I think that's one of the biggest hills that humanity has just had to struggle with and climb over and over and over again, is fear.
And fear is unattractive. You when you really are dealing with somebody, I mean, they can be a gorgeous person on the outside, but if you deal with somebody who's such a fearful person, you just finally get to where it's like,
well, it changes their whole energy.
their whole energy. And I was never the best looking guy. I picked up lots of I almost said chicks, but chicks, man.
Chicks, man.
Chicks, man. You know why? I was never, my buddies be like, oh, I'm like, dude, go over there and talk to him. Oh, I ain't going over there. I'm like, I just walk right up and start talking to somebody. You know why? First thing is, if you don't talk to me back, oh, well, there's 1,000 people around here that will. You're just one that won't. Who cares?
I don't know if it's always been this way, but no, you're right. That does work on women. Just FYI, any guys that are listening, that is more than half of the equation.
Yeah, just
more than half.
And that is so minuscule. I mean, but it's I'll take it to the 6th grade dance to where there's nobody on the dance floor because the boys are over here and the girls are over here and everybody's staring at each other.
That's normal for 6th grade.
But what I'm getting at is it's that fear that, I mean, that still carries on for a lot of people the rest of their lives. Like, it just takes somebody to break the ice. One couple goes out and dances. Next thing you know, everybody's out there.
Courage is contagious.
Courage is contagious. And, when we get scared of getting shot down, we get scared of looking like a fool. Or if you've ever been broke and you're at the grocery store and you're like, please don't let my card get declined. Please don't let my card get declined. It happens. But when you get out of that sense of yourself, and then that's it. In those situations, that's a self fear. That's an internal fear. Getting rejected is not going to put you 6 feet under. Getting rejected is not going to drain your bank account. Getting rejected is an internalized fear that only you feel. Your buddies don't feel it because you got shot down, but it's something we don't do because we're scared how it's going to make us feel in here.
Well, I would have to sit here and think for a little while, but it goes way deeper than that. Like
It-
fear of rejection is, I think it's ubiquitous and human in many respects. Like I think that's everybody's
normal.
biggest fear. Yeah. But I wonder like on like a, a limbic level, like what it really is that I guess it's just the safety of the tribe. I don't know that you like, you can't survive without the tribe. So like if you really go deep enough, maybe that's what it goes back to. I don't know.
My daughter, we were talking the other day, and we were driving back from family vacation, and so I started asking, Pay, what's one of the things you're scared of? And one of the things she talks about was school shootings scares her. And I said, what is your biggest fear? And she said that you die. And I really was speechless. I did not know how to respond to that. So the best thing I did is I just didn't say anything. I waited a few minutes because the atmosphere changed in the car. Like it was like you could tell. And so she's staring out the window, and I said, well, what would be, if something did happen to Dad, what's the worst part that you think? And she said, and this really hit me. It wasn't that I wouldn't be there or she wouldn't be able to talk to me. It wasn't, that she'd miss me. She said, I wouldn't feel safe. And I'm like, oh my God, that's the most beautiful day ever.
I'm about to cry. That's
I'm
so
like,
sweet.
I'm like staring ahead, and I'm like, wow.
Well, you better not die, David.
Well, I mean, I
You'll do your best, right?
do not die. But that is a fear that coming from her, you don't realize the normal day-to-day operations has given her a safety net, has created a degree of love. And one thing that her mother and I are very adamant about is listening to what she has to say. There we go. I'm going to hit this real quick for parents with kids. Listen to your kids. If your response is to always be talking and always be giving direction, my speech was horrible there. Let me back that up. Always be this and always be that. But if your response is to just always give direction, your kid eventually, whether at 8, 10, 12, 14, they're going to cut you off. And you are training them to not talk to you. You're training them to listen. And you're never getting the real them. Their friends are hearing about their fears. Their friends are hearing about what they're dealing with. But they have written you off in that part of their life, because you don't truly listen. You are just ready to give direction and response and let them know why they're wrong.
Speak to that from personal experience. Don't do that to your
Don't do that. Listen. Let them speak. And I tell you.
Well, take them seriously too. Like even if they're telling, like just remember what it was like when you were a kid. Like I understand as an adult, you're listening to a teenage girl talk about, she's crying about her, she's in 10th grade crying about her boyfriend and, her best friend did this thing that was so mean. And you're listening just like, how stupid is this? And
Yeah.
you're in high school and to them, that's their whole world. It does matter to them.
It does matter.
It matters.
Absolutely.
It's the whole world to them. And if you don't listen and you don't create a safe space for them to go and talk to you about these overwhelming things they're dealing with, they'll never talk to you.
And then if you have a girl, the first slick boy that comes along who listens, they're
Right,
like, oh
that's
my
right.
God, he loves me.
That's right.
I do love you. Come on, the band's going to make it. Come on.
Yeah. No, seriously. Give
yeah.
your kids a place. Give your kids a place, a safe place to go so that they don't get wrapped up in bad friends and boys and all this stuff.
I saw a meme. God, those are words we would not have said 10 years ago. But I saw a meme. It was so true. It said, I want my child in situations to not think my dad's going to kill me. I want them to think, I need to call my dad.
That's right.
And now, that means we don't have a smorgasbord of insanity because I don't want to be the corrector. No, wholeheartedly, I'm the parent. But I have learned so much from my daughter. And once again, this isn't like great parenting tips from David, like I have all the answers. I was very cognizant and I paid attention to people that I saw were great parents. I had great examples growing up. I have a girl. I am brash. I am harsh. I am 0 to 100 super fast. Some people would call it toxic masculinity. Call it whatever you want. I had to completely revamp my thought process because I had this genuine, feminine, beautiful thing in my life that I realized this I have to handle and with care and be delicate. And it pisses me off to see women that are just completely under attack in this generation. When I talk about that thing I was just talking about, that beautiful daughter that was given to me, and now I have some jackass guy who comes along and says, well, I'm at the same degree of equal to her because I feel like a woman. The hell you are.
No.
That's somebody knocked on the door. I'm like, oh my God, they're coming for us. But, well, that can get into something else. But that is a fear of mine, that my daughter grows up in a world where women have completely lost their identity and they are no longer this delicate, amazing, can be as harsh as a man when they need to be and soft in a ways a man can never be, and have that completely ripped and taken away from her and her friends that are growing up just because some people won't stand up and say, look, you don't have body dysmorphia. You're sick in the head. And if you want me to believe in the charade that you're a woman when you're not, this is a woman. Well, talking about fear today, we're going to come back for the third part.